Good evening, everyone. Sorry we're a little later than I would like to be, but today is Monday, November 21st, and I'd like to welcome you to a meeting of the Concord School Board of Trustees. This meeting is a meeting of the school board in public for the purpose of conducting the school corporation's business and is not considered a public community meeting. There will be time for public participation about agenda items as indicated on the agenda. If you would like to address the board, please fill out a yellow card and get that to Mrs. Jones. Before you speak, welcome everyone. It's nice to see all of your faces. You're welcome to all of our board meetings. They're very exciting. I know some of you are here with a purpose, so we will get started so we can hear what you have to say. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on our agenda is good things, and tonight the things is brought to us by Mr. Hartsaw and Eastside.
All right, go ahead, kids, come on up. I know you guys like to hear from them more than me. Go ahead and come over here. We'll have you guys come over here. We're gonna have some speakers. One of the things is Eastside's a leader in preschool, and so we're really trying to build student leadership and have the students kind of take ownership. So everything that they are saying tonight are things that they created themselves. Basically, there's been some different events that we've had at Eastside. I know last time we had a school board meeting, Oxford talked a little bit about CKLA. And so we'll talk about one extension from that. We'll talk about another activity another couple of activities that we've been doing as part of the community and as part of Concord. So, you got a slideshow ready to go? All right, so we're gonna start out with Sloan and Chloe. They were both took part in something that's called World Kindness Day. Pfizer boys, why don't you guys come over here so they can see? Bill, Chloe, Sloan, here we go. You guys are gonna have the podium first. So it kind of started from Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, and they make World Kindness Day as part of this. And we were asked to have a couple of students be a part of a forum to kind of talk about kindness and how it's impacted their lives. And so we were fortunate to have Sloan and Chloe talk about it. So I have them share their experiences. So who wants to go first? All right, go ahead, Sloan.
Hi, my name is Sloan. I am in third grade. On October 26th, I was in a Zoom meeting for World Kindness Day. During that meeting, kids from different schools shared what kindness means to us. I spoke about how I show kindness to boys because sometimes they do not feel loved or have any friends. When I have done this, they have become my friends. We also shared how we can help to spread kindness throughout our school. I love Concord Eastside, and I think that we have a kind school.
I'm Chloe. I'm in fourth grade at Concord Eastside. I was in the World Kindness meeting. We talked about what kindness means to us, and to me, kindness means always being a friend, helping others, and making sure everyone is included. We also talked about how we would feel if the world was kind. I would be happy because we wouldn't have to worry about bullies.
Good job, girls. Now I'll go ahead with the next slide, Tyler. So I have Nolan and Landon Pfizer. We talked about CKLA with Oxbow, and one of the units was on the human body. We had a former Eastside student. He was an IU med student at Notre Dame, what they call South Bend. And his wife is a teacher in our building. And so he brought over some IU med students to talk to our students about the medical field. And it was very exciting to hear that discussion because they were talking about dendrites, and it's like, we just studied dendrites in IU med school. And so another aspect of it that was really cool is once IU Mexico found out what we did, they want to replicate it out in Bloomington. And so it was a good thing. So I'll have them share their experiences as well.
I go first. One thing I noticed about them is they're brought these different tubes. One of them is a little looks like a hammer, but instead of like a square at the top, it's a triangle, and they hit it at your knee to test your reflexes. One thing that I really liked about them is that they let us use some of their tools. They showed us how it worked. They told us about some of the parts about the human body, and it was really fun.
All right, thank you guys. All the kids just really enjoyed it, and they enjoyed it so much that now I've heard that they want to come back and talk to another group. So we're going to try to set something up. Our last two I have with us is we have Mr. Jordan, and then we also have, I'm not going to do it, Caden. I was going to call his brother's name because I have him as well. We had robotics. Concord hosted it for the first time, I think, ever. Is that correct? And it was the largest one in the state. And it was really cool to kind of see them grow as the project went on. And we talked about it's more than just the project itself. It's what you learn from it. And, you know, the way that they talked after they had a run of the robot is like they're problem solving and they're working together to say, okay, here's what we can do the next time. So those were some things that was great to see. I'll have them share their experiences as well. Who's going to go first? Go ahead, Katie.
Here at Concord Eastside, my name is Kaden. And today, a couple weeks ago, we went to a little robotics competition. The whole thing of the thing was superpowered. It was about making something for reusable energy. We were judged on the core values, the design of our robot, the missions we did, and their animation skills. We built each mission for our robot. The missions we did was the energy storage, smart grid power plant, turbine, dinosaur, and the innovation project. We used a design that was on the website and added an attachment that would push something in and out to get points. We coded with word blocks because they were easy to use. We did 5 to 6 missions because we did energy storage where you would go forward, pull an arm up, an attachment that would pull the arm up, pull it down, and then pull it back. We also did the turbine, which like I was saying, you would push it in and push it back. We learned that if you don't use core value teamwork, you won't get many things done.
Monosports was also teamwork. We had to listen to other inputs and not focus on the ones who already come up with their ideas.
You guys want to talk about what your innovation project was? Because I thought this was kind of clever.
So our model is a wind turbine. It's made out of polycarbonate and recycled plastic. This, we didn't have any clear pieces, so we put out white, but just imagine these are clear pieces. We got the idea. We were split into different groups. One group studied hydropower, one studied nuclear power, and my group studied wind power. And every group came up with a model, and we all voted on which model we thought was the best, and we ended up choosing this one. We chose this idea because polycarbonate costs less than fiberglass and a resin turbine, which is our normal turbines today. And recycling the plastic and putting it in here, we'll be taking it out of the ocean and putting it into something that we
So that was a good idea that they came up with, and like they said, they learned a lot from the experience. So great job, guys.
Might not know this, but our high school speech coach is in the room, Mr. Stutzman, and I think we've got 8 future speech members.
I was about to say, I'm like, he's putting a note back in there.
Great job, guys.
Yes, thank you so much. You are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, or we can take a quick little pause and you and your families could leave and enjoy the rest of your evening if you would like. You're welcome to stay, or you can go and enjoy.
Make sure you grab a goodie on the way out, okay, Mr. Hartsock, Scott? Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, they do. Free stuff is good stuff.
Just a little.
Thank you guys.
You should.
This meeting just got to hold us.
Right?
It's interesting.
Always like the kids. Okay, that brings us to hearing of visitors. Do we have a yellow card? Before I read this, I will remind us of our procedure. We will hear public comments for up to 30 minutes. When I call your name, you have 3 minutes to speak. Mrs. Jones is our timekeeper, and time will be posted on the screen, for you to follow. Once you approach the podium, please state your address and how you are a stakeholder in Concord Community Schools. We will ask you to end your comments at 3 minutes. Please keep in mind, this is a time for you to share your comments and concerns. This is not a question and answer session. We do not allow making personal references or attacks to individual educators or students. We also ask you to only address the board as a whole. We do not tolerate aggressive, harassing, or profane comments. If someone has already stated your concern, please be mindful of being too repetitive. If I have to interrupt you to remind you of any of these items, it will be taken from your time. Thank you in advance for your cooperation. Our yellow card is from Mike Malooly. Come on up.
My wife made me leave the profane and aggressive comments at home, so I'm bearing nothing but good with them. I just wanted to share a quick note of personal congratulations, obviously, and no, I'm not asking for a recount or nothing like that, but obviously the election did not go as I hoped, and it's fine, because as I look up here, I see who is representing me in my district, and I'm okay with that. I know you guys will do right by my daughter, and eventually my son, if you can get the Legos out of his nose. So I will just say, do good work and represent me and my family. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to the consent agenda, which this evening has minutes from 11/7/22, board workshop minutes from 11/7/22, board workshop minutes from 11/9/22, minutes from 11/14/22. Wow, we've been busy. Accounts payable claims, payroll claims distribution summary report, donations high school, human resource report, and conference report.
Motion to approve as presented. I'll second.
I have a motion by Mr. Yoder, a second by Mr. Sponseller. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next item on our agenda is 4.1, and consider a speech team overnight field trip. I assume it's Mr. Stutzman. I have Mr. Molnar on my list, but I see you.
Well, I was at the Principals Association conference today, and we left early. So,
Perfect.
I'm not really sure I need to say a whole lot. It's our annual overnight trip to Fisher's High School Speech Tournament in January. So this year it happens to be at the end of our Christmas break, so we won't miss any school. So we didn't miss any last year, but, and I just ask that you allow us to go again. It was a good team building last year, first time we've been able to go in several years because of COVID issues. And about half the team that went last year had never stayed away from their parents. And so it was a little interesting at the beginning, but I think it ended up allowing them to realize that they could do some things. And it was a good time. So
How many kids do you have, Fisher?
that's a good question.
I always ask why.
Say roughly right now, 20 to 25. So I've been a little slow going this year, getting started with that, but we're getting there. We hosted our annual speech tournament this last Saturday with 12 schools, so it's good.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second. I have a motion by Mrs. Davis, a second by Mrs. Towner. Any comments or questions for Mr. Stutzman?
Do you drive the bus?
No,
And is IU playing during this whole thing?
oh, of course not. I mean,
Okay.
I don't know. That's a lie. No, they're not. Okay. We call them conferences, so.
Understand.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Mr. Stutzman. Good luck to all. That brings us to item 5.1, school calendar for 23-24 school year.
Yeah, so I'll talk about this, but want to acknowledge that Mr. Myers has been working extremely hard on coming up with a calendar that addresses a couple issues that we wanted to address. So before you, so this is not approval tonight. This is just presenting this to you, give you a chance to give us any input, and then you would take action on the calendar in December meeting. So a couple things that that we talked about wanting to correct. It's really difficult to have conferences miss a Wednesday, come back and basically break up and have kind of a crazy week, and then come back the next week and have another week that's kind of messed up there in October. So Mr. Myers worked with CTA, and what you'll see in front of you solves that problem. It moves some conferences to Monday, but basically Monday and Tuesday of that week, and then that Wednesday would fall in the same week in conjunction with fall break. We get it all done in 1 week, and don't disrupt school for multiple weeks. It's not finalized yet. There may be minor tweaks like with grading periods. We haven't worked all of those details out exactly yet. Took a poll of other districts today and where they're at. Looks like Goshen will probably be starting a similar start time in August. And then somebody starting like maybe on a Friday before, kind of in between, and then I believe it looks like Middlebury might be starting a week ahead of us. So kind of all over in the county, pretty similar really to what it was this year. So I'd say give it a look. If you have any questions, let myself or Mr. Myers know as we work to finalize this. Our goal is to have it set by December so that when everybody gets together with their extended families over Christmas, they can plan their vacations for the next year. So.
Very good. Thank you for that information. That brings us to item 6.1. Mr. Evans, you have a financial report for us.
Oh, sorry. Hope I was gonna cheer. Is that two up on the screen? There we go.
So, thank you, Mrs. Wade, for the financial report for the period ending October 31, 2022. Most of the funds, as you can see, are relatively similar to a year ago, October 31, 2021. I would draw attention to maybe two of the funds. First of all, the operations fund. The operations fund is the one, as we know, that's most affected by the circuit breaker. And so we will be addressing the difference in the balance in that fund. One of the ways that we address that is through the transfer of funds from the education fund to the operations fund, which we have the ability and the authority to do. However, by doing that, the more we address the effects of the circuit breaker, that takes money away from the education fund, which could be used to instruct students, instead of use that to pay the light bill and the bill and run buses and do those kinds of things. So that's one impact of the circuit breakers, is it forces us to take money from construction and use it for operations. But that's what we have to do because we really don't have much control over the circuit breaker. The other fund that I would just draw your attention to, the health insurance fund, significantly lower than this time last year. However, because we're a self-funded plan, we pay all the medical invoices and claims up front, and then if they go over a certain level, then we get reimbursement back from a stop loss insurance company. So we've paid the claims, which is reflected in the ballot. We have not yet received, well, we have received the reimbursement, but it just wasn't in this period. So that money is in the bank now and should be reflected in future financial reports.
Motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mr. Yoder, a second by Mr. Sponseller. Any comments or questions for Mr. Evans? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 6.2, Mr. Evans, you have a letter for us to consider.
Yes, we have discussed with the board previously and have been working with our attorney, Mr. Leslie at Work & Boeing, to enter into an agreement with a company that will review the medical claims in two ways. One, to review claims as they are presented going forward, but also reviewing claims that have been paid in the past, to make sure that we basically are doing everything we can to make sure that we're only paying claims that should be paid. So we have worked with our attorney at Work & Boeing to establish a relationship with a company, a vendor. The name of the company is Claim Informatics. And so I think we're ready. We've worked through a lot of the details, and I think we're ready to present that to the board for your approval tonight. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Motion to approve as presented. Second.
I have a motion by Mrs. Davis, a second by Mrs. Towner. Any comments or questions for Mr. Evans?
So you said that they'll go back a couple of years.
It will go back to 2019,
Okay.
January 1, 2019.
And then if they find that we were overbilled, then they contact the vendor
Yes.
and say, okay, you, Elkhart General Hospital or Beacon Health or whatever, you overcharged it, and then they just reimburse Concord Community Schools, not necessarily the person who
That's correct.
had the claim.
That's correct.
Anything else? All in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed? Very good. That brings us to item 6.3, consider a cash management agreement. Mr. Evans.
Thank you again, Mrs. Wade. We are happy to present to the board actually this is an amendment, the first amendment to the cash management agreement that was agreed to in 2018. That was a 5-year agreement, so I believe it would be in May of 2023 that agreement would have been completed. We've worked with the folks at Teachers Credit Union, who are happy to have some representatives here tonight to join us. So that original agreement will essentially remain in place with this amendment. And the amendment basically amends that agreement in 2 ways. One is it just extends the period 5 more years, basically with the same terms in terms of the timing. 1 2-year term, and then the possibility of renewal for 3 1-year terms after that initial 2-year term, for a total of 5 years, which is the same as it has been. It's just different dates. So that's the first amendment. The second amendment is probably more significant in the fact that it changes the terms in the amount of interest income that will receive. If you remember, the original agreement that was signed in 2018 was for 5 years at 2.77% on the balances in the bank. This one will be based on the federal funds rate that's in effect on a monthly basis plus 20 basis points. So if you have any interest in watching that at all, which I know several of you do, maybe some of you don't, but that right now, it represents a fairly significant increase over what we've had, which we think was a very fair and advantageous to us rate over the last 4 years, 4.5 years at this point. So those are the two changes, the two amendments to the original 2018 agreement. That's the board approval.
Motion to approve the cash management agreement as presented.
A motion by Mr. Sponseller, a second by Mrs. Davis. Any comments or questions from Mr. Evans?
Just to say thanks to Jim and certainly Kurt and Randy for all the work and being a good supporter of the school and working to a good agreement here. So, yeah, thank you.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Well, I'd like to piggyback on that and thank Jared for being our board representative. Your knowledge and willingness to even watch those things was extremely helpful in helping the whole corporation. And without you and everyone on your team, we wouldn't be having such a beneficial amendment. So thank you as well, and thank you TCU and Mr. Evans. Any other comments or questions? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Let's see. Oh, no, Dan's got the next one. Okay. Consider a sponsorship with TCU.
So I'm just gonna build on the love here. I'll start this by saying it is extremely beneficial to us that we have a banker on our team, and the knowledge that Jared brought to both of these agreements was extremely helpful. So I'd like to announce an agreement and ask for your approval tonight. So in addition to a cash management agreement, which I will state that all of our interest income is turned around and used for kids, directly for our students. And I think that the board should be commended that that's how you used the interest income. Would like to announce a possible sponsorship opportunity with our friends from TCU tonight. We've been having a discussion for maybe a year or so now on sponsorship opportunities that might exist that would be win-win for the district, for our students, and for TCU as well. And so what I'm presenting tonight is a 10-year sponsorship agreement with TCU serve as the sponsor of the football field at Concord High School. TCU will provide annual contributions towards the improvement of our athletic facilities in return for that. One of the great things in working with TCU was that our football field is called Jake Field. And we've been able to honor the memory of Larry Jacobiak, who many people in the room know or knew. Larry had an untimely passing in 2009. And so that ability to have a sponsorship agreement and maintain the name of Jake Field was really important to us. And so with this sponsorship agreement tonight, the field would be called Jake Field, sponsored by Teachers Credit Union. And so, I don't know if you guys have anything to add. Probably after the vote, maybe we'll give you an opportunity to speak.
Wait till it's official.
Sometimes I get ahead of myself, maybe, Just into Jared's point, we'd like to thank Randy Kurt, who we truly value as true partners with us and doing good things for our kids. So, yeah, any questions?
Mr. Sponsor, second, Mrs. Turner, any comments or questions?
I love it that you're gonna change your logo to Kelly Green.
We had that conversation. I don't know if that's what works or not.
I mean, he's got a green shirt on, I feel it's promising. Anything else?
Certainly, thank you again for this piece of it as well, so.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Would anybody like to say anything?
I will echo, I don't know, Jared, if I compliment you again, you might get a big head, but, no, Jared was very great to work with on the financial side, as well as, we've already been working with Mr. Evans and his team, as you know, we're amending the cash management, and so we enjoy the work we're already doing with you. I know Kurt's been involved with the Dollars for Scholars and Lily and a lot of things, financial literacy at the school, so we just really look at this as just solidifying what's already been a great relationship, and we look forward to working with you many years to come here.
Thank you. Thank you. That brings us on to item 6.5, some handbook and salary schedule, Mr. Funston.
Yeah, so pleased to recommend some salary increases for the remaining employment groups that we have here tonight. So after we were done with teacher negotiations, we got to work on how much money is left and making sure that we take care of our employees there. So you'll see in the recommendation for our classified employees, people will move. So the way that salary schedule works is depending on your experience, you move up on a salary schedule. So people would move up on that. In addition, proposing a 50 cents an hour increase for our classified folks minus transportation. If you recall, transportation received a large market analysis update and a significant increase a year ago. I'm recommending a 25 cent an hour increase for those folks.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second. I have a motion by Mr. Yoder, a second by Mrs. Davis. Any comments or questions for Mr. Funston? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same thing, different people.
Yeah, so the last couple years, we've been able to give salary increases to the base for both our teaching staff and our classified staff. We've not been able to do the same for our administrative team, and so I'm actually proposing tonight that we do provide a base increase to our administrative team. Average would be around 3.9% for our administrative team to their base, but in addition, we would up our health insurance supplement to that group as well. And so, yeah, just asking for your approval on that.
Motion to approve is presented.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mrs. Davis, a second by Mr. Sponseller. Any comments or questions for Mr. Funston? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that brings us to item 6.7, an MOU for us to consider, Mr. Funston.
Yeah, this is one of these funny things where we bring to you approval something that the federal government says you have to do. And so we partner with Head Start for preschool services. We have classrooms at Southside and Westside elementaries. Any school that receives Title I funds is required to engage with Head Start and other child care providers as well. And so nothing's really changed in the MOU. It's the same we've had with Head Start, and so I would ask for your approval for that.
Motion to approve is presented.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Towner, a second by Mr. Yoder. Any comments or questions for Mr. Huss? Don't you just love it, federal government? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. That brings us to sharing from the board, and before we hear from anybody on the board, I would like to invite Mr. Shelley up to have a quick little sharing.
Board members, been asked to talk a little bit about the election results. I think that's been in the local media, both television and print media, concerning the recent school board election here at Concord Community Schools. I think it's important first that we understand what the language is that Concord's election plan has. For this most recent election, the language on the ballot read simply, vote for not more than a total of 3 candidates and not more than 1 from District 2. It would seem that with all the technology that we have available to us nowadays, that a computer program would be designed that if somebody tried to vote for more than 1 candidate from District 2, for example, 2 or 3, in this most recent election, the program would have caught that and either warned the voter or prohibited that voter from voting that particular way. We're told that that is impossible by our county officials, and it did not happen in this most recent election. That led, quite frankly, to nearly 1,200 votes that would be deemed invalid by Indiana law. They counted those 1,200 invalid ballots. The things to remember here are very important. First of all, Concord Community Schools possesses a lawful election plan that has been approved by the state. That election plan has been in existence a long time. There are at least 3 other school corporations located in Elkhart County that have similar language that would have the same problems dependent upon exactly the mix of candidates that are at that particular time. It's unfortunate that we run into this problem when there's so much political tension about, what our elections, do they possess integrity? Are they honest? And are they fair? We did not create this problem here at Concord Community Schools, but we possess no legal standing to challenge that election results and the counting of those invalid ballots. The only people who are able to challenge that are in fact the candidates who ran in this particular election. I will say this, that Concord Community Schools, the school board representatives, the administration, the legal counsel continue to work with the county and the voting machine vendors and other representatives from the county to try to sort out this problem and hopefully ultimately reach the correct election outcome for this most recent vote. So, does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns that I might be able to address? Sorry, it's not good news. It's not good news. So I've been working closely with the county clerk for almost 2 weeks now and just trying to get him to this point. It's been somewhat of a task, so.
When is the deadline?
The county clerk was to certify, and I believe did at least preliminarily certify the final vote tally at noon today. For those candidates who want to challenge or essentially have a recount of that tally, that filing must be made with court by no later than noon tomorrow. It doesn't give you much time.
I guess I would just echo the comment of, it's sad and it's unfortunate that, it is now kind of a muddy process. We believe in what our community wants their school corporation to look like and appreciate their vote and their voice. We need everybody to trust in that process, our community and any future candidate that would want to be part of our beautiful team here. And so, it's just unfortunate.
Anybody? Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Shelley. Any other sharing from the board?
So I got two things. Friday night, I went to the Wawasee girls game, and after the game was over, standing by a trash can, this young lady was just carrying all this garbage and threw it away. And I said, "You were hungry, you ate a lot." She said, "No, nobody else was cleaning up the area, so I thought I'd clean it up and leave it better than what she saw it." So I let Coach Cepeda know, but kudos to that young lady for cleaning up. And then the National Honor Society did a clothes drive, and Mr. Stevens dropped off a bunch of clothes, and then they brought it through. They brought it through and then sold it in a garage sale fashion to members of our community. And Ms. Sayer said it was pretty successful, and they think they're going to repeat that. So we moved about 8 bags of clothes downstairs, and we'll hold it until they want it again. Good stuff happening with kids.
Speaking of kids, Tigers Marathon was this past weekend again, and so quite the neat program that Mr. Beaver has created, and how many kids are engaged in that, and spend 24 hours at the school and that. So again, kudos to all that money they're raising for Riley's hospital.
Anything else? That brings us to superintendent's report.
Yeah, so just build on Jared's thing there. So there is a link we can send out, I think, I'm looking for Julie, but that you can go to and support Powder's Marathon. So that'll be open for at least a few weeks now as they wrap that up. And I know Mr. Beaver had really ambitious goals with the dollar amount for that. So anyways, if you typically give to Riley, that'd be a great way to do that and support our program as well. Do you call him Doc? Is that what you? I just want to say DOT, Doc. A couple years ago, we started talking about robotics, and at that time, we had a handful of teams involved in that. And I know we, as a board, as a team here, had a goal to make sure every kid who wanted to participate in that had an opportunity. And so I just have to say, the event that was held at CIS last week was the largest in the state, 28 teams. Of those 28 teams, 12 of them were ours. It was pretty exciting to see the kids come up to the tables and so many of them be from Concord. And as the kids talked about tonight, they were running their first try on the table, going back, making adjustments to their robots, coming back, trying again. I think they had 3 tries, right? It was just a ton of learning happening. It wouldn't have happened without Lisa and Tyler making that happen, along with our coaches who coached our teams. Just would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to Gears. Scott from Gears was crucial in bringing that event to Concord, and we hope to maybe have an event for the middle school. Set high expectations here for later on this year as well too. So kudos to everybody that made that happen. It was like a rock concert in there. It was pretty cool. Just a reminder, the Concord Engineering and Construction Center will have its open house on December 12th. So anybody that's interested in coming in, seeing the new space that will be housed second semester by actual kids in the space will be nice. We'll have ribbon cutting on the 12th at 5 o'clock, but the open house is from 4 to 6. I think that's it for tonight.
Thank you very much. Will you go over our upcoming board meeting schedule?
I will. So we've had a busy November. December's not too bad. Our next regular meeting, we have one meeting in December, December 12th. We have a regular meeting here at 6. We will have an executive session immediately following that meeting on the 12th as well. And other than that, right now, there's nothing scheduled. So.
When is the marching band performing, or will we be able to see that?
So it's recorded.
Okay.
Not sure what day they're actually performing.
Actual performance is Sunday, and it's my understanding it's the Hollywood Christmas Parade, so it's pre-recorded, and then I believe it's the one that they show on Christmas Day. I believe.
We'll make sure we share that information so everybody can watch it. Dr. Kendall is representing the Education Center on this trip, so she knows she's looking forward to that.
All the way on a bus?
No, we're fine.
Yeah. We told her we couldn't afford a bus, she has to hitchhike.
Wow.
Only so much, only so much. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for your attendance, and meeting adjourned at 6:47 PM.